I'm going to show you the 7-step process for growing microgreens. These are some sunflower sprouts that I started maybe about 4 or 5 days ago now. Step 1, you need a container. I like using these upcycled salad boxes just because it's kind of ironic, but you can use any container you like. And then we just pour a little bit of soil into the pot. I just use an ordinary sterile potting soil that I found from my local garden center. We use 5th Season because they used to be our neighbors. And then the important stage here is just, you don't need much soil. That's the whole idea with microgreens. They'll grow in a very little amount of medium, but we want to press down that soil so it's nice and compact. You can cut out a piece of cardboard or get a piece of wood and do it, but since I just do small batches, I don't mind using the back of my hand. And that is your soil ready in the pot for step 1. Step 2 is sowing your seeds. With microgreens, because you're not letting them get very big, they don't need all the space that you normally give planting. So I'm just gonna, these are black seeded sunflowers, I'm just gonna sprinkle them in, and you want a pretty dense pattern. Now it doesn't just have to be big seeds that you use for microgreens. You could do radish and salad greens and herb salad mixes and all sorts of stuff. But once you've sowed them pretty densely, again, you want to press these seeds in fairly deep. And that's step 2. Step 3 is covering your seeds. You can sprinkle another layer of soil over the top, but one method that I picked up on a while ago that I really like is just to use a damp paper towel over the top. It's nice and clean and quick, and you can just peel it back whenever you want to check in to see whether they're germinating, which is something you can't do with a layer of soil. I use just a bleached paper towel that I've just soaked in water. Mine's folded over once just so it doesn't dry out so quickly, but this is just to cover it over. The seeds don't need light to germinate, so it blocks out the light, holds in the moisture, and we're good to go. Step 4 is water and cover. To begin with, when the seeds are getting ready to germinate, they don't want to be swimming in water, but they want a good amount of moisture. So I'm just gonna pour this on top. The nice thing of having the paper towel is that the seeds will not be pushed about by the water when I pour it on top. So that water is going to soak in, the seeds are going to absorb the water, the soil is going to absorb the moisture, and at this first stage you don't need to worry too much about adding too much water, as long as you don't make a swimming pool. The great thing about these salad boxes is that they come built in for their own mini greenhouse effect. All we need to do is close the lid, and I've managed to trap in all the moisture and some of the heat, and this is now ready to leave somewhere where they're not going to get cold. So like it could be an interior closet, it could be a windowsill. I just leave mine in my growing room where it stays fairly warm. If you're growing something like mustard seeds or mung beans, then they can tolerate colder temperatures for germination, but sunflowers like it a little bit warmer. Step 5 is germinate. You can see here that I've uncovered this little pot here, but it stayed nice and moist with the paper towel. And then this is the great thing about the paper towel, is I can just peel it back. You can see I've got some mung bean sprouts. I started these about 3 days ago, so you can see they're already starting to put little tails out as they're sprouting. These guys aren't quite ready to be uncovered fully, but the next stage would be to remove the cover, remove the paper towels, and expose them to sunlight. But they need to just be a little bit more developed than this stage. Stage 6 is light. Most seeds can germinate in the dark, but they're never going to fully green up unless they're exposed to light. So there's a few different setups you can use. This is my growing room. I converted my basement steps into a grow room, and you can see I've got a full spectrum specialized grow light, which is fantastic. But you don't need one of these lights. There's a few other options that I'm going to show you how else you can do it. This is a pretty simple and cheap setup that I've got going here. It's just on a set of bookshelves. The light bulb came from 5th Season just as a special grow light, but I think only cost about $20. And then the dome reflector just puts a lot more of that heat onto the plants. When I say heat, I mean light. And I'm able to give the little seedlings what they need. This is just a sunny windowsill. This is west facing. Ideally you'd want a south facing window so you get as much sun as possible. What's going to happen is if you don't get enough light, the sprouts themselves will kind of be reaching for that light and they'll get what we call leggy, which is like long and thin and weak, and they'll collapse over. So ideally as much light as possible. If they go on leggy, that's when you'll have to think about supplemental light. Step 7 is harvest. It's really quite easy. You can decide to harvest whenever you think they're big enough. These are pretty small, but I just want to show you how easy it is just to go in and just snip off your microgreens. You can go ahead and wash them. It's totally up to you at this point, but to store them, you just want to throw them in a Ziploc bag and keep them nice and cool in the refrigerator, and they'll definitely stay for at least a week. You're kind of treating them like salad greens at that point. And then you're ready to eat. Emmy, you want to try a freshly grown microgreen sprout? Tell us all what you think. Can you put it in your mouth? Yum, yum, yum. You can have peanut butter on toast after you try the sprout. That was a pretend sprout eating. Ooh, is it good? It tastes like nuts. You like it? What do you think? Oh, a second bite? Yummy. Good girl. You want to eat the stalk? It's edible. Good girl.
Ma?
You want more? You can have as many microgreens as you want.